What's the most up thing you've done for money? NSFW. Whipped my tit out and electrocuted my nipple on an electric fence for $50. I sold a picture of my girlfriend's feet for $130 to one of her ex-coworkers. I asked her first, of course, but it still felt questionable. I once was bored in my mid-20s, around 3 AM, and I saw a gig on Craigslist. Turned out an escort needed a safe driver to get her to gigs. Not thinking too much about it, I contacted her and spent the rest of the morning driving her around. At one appointment she came downstairs, came to my truck, handed me $20, and told me she needed more condoms. I was taken back, but decided what the hell. So I went to the local pharmacy, this was now almost 6 AM, and bought 2 boxes of condoms for her. Went back, handed them off, then proceeded to wait for 2 more hours. She eventually came out, I drove her back home, she paid me $150. I felt so wrong taking the money, knowing she was getting railed for her money, then had to pay me. I took the money anyways, and she was pleased I was a pleasant young man / driver. What the weirdest odd occurrences for me by far. Late one night in my 20s in Okinawa, an overweight female bartender at a dodgy karaoke bar asked to see my it was pierced at the time. I quipped that it would cost her $10. She joked back that for $10 I should be naked. Welp. The other bartenders all threw into the pot, including a really attractive one, and so did some of the customers, mostly dudes who thought it would be funny to call my bluff. All told, I paid around $120 bucks to drink a beer in the nude while being jibbed by a bunch of drunk expats. Guess I could put semi-pro stripper on my resume? Elementary school, licked the janitor's mop for $2.35. Thanks for the silver. And no, it's not a euphemism, because that's how much 2 slices of pizza cost in the cafetorium. I went to gym class in my underwear. I almost made it through without getting caught by the teacher. Waking up way too early in the morning to go to a place I hate. Was at family dinner and my uncle complained that my aunt burnt the green beans. As a joke, he said he would pay anyone $50 to eat the whole bowl. He did not expect me to take him on the offer. This was a dinner bowl meant for like 14 people. So that night I didn't eat an actual dinner, just an obscene amount of green beans. Surprised I didn't barf, and I had interesting weird for the next 2 days. Answered a Craigslist to kick a guy in the balls and walk on him for $160. Liked the easy gig and the money. Made about $10,000 doing that afterwards, and went to Europe for 2 months. Not me, but a friend of mine accepted £300 for sex. Despite being into degrading sex, hence accepting this, she really had no need for the money. She was so unaroused by the guy that they couldn't get his inside her. Dry like the Sahara. So she wanked him off. No one came out of that experience well. Sold Bitcoin at $1,000 EA. When I was 10, a dwarf offered to pay me if I stripped for him in the back of a dirty subway station, and I accepted. World of Warcraft is a strange game. I used to give myself paper cuts for money in high school. Earlobe, eyelid, top or bottom, finger webbing, etc. People paid way too much for that. Let a crawdad pinch my nipple. Was far stronger than I thought and ended up drawing blood. I essentially had my nipple pierced for $1. Surgically implanting a neodymium magnet in someone's finger so they could sense magnetic fields. My friend offered me €20 to have a staring competition with a hooker in Amsterdam. I went right up to the glass and stared at her for around 30 seconds before she opened the door and threw boiling water over me. She lost and I got the money. When I was back in school I had a good friend who was getting bullied quite badly. He was scared to stand up to the guy bullying him as he was quite small. He paid me the holy sum of a Mars bar to hit his bully round the back of the head with a fire extinguisher. An unconscious 12-year-old and me getting a rather long suspension from school and interviewed by the police. I was such a douchebag back then. Edit. To clarify, we were all in the same year at school. I was just a bit of a loose cannon back then. Others have said it wasn't the high-pitched ding sound you'd expect, more a dull thud. No lasting injury/brain damage occurred. The guy I hit was a real nasty piece of work, but I agree I took it too far and felt genuinely guilty after. The Mars bar was pretty ing epic. Someone left an envelope full of money in a booth of one of the tables at a restaurant I worked at. I didn't even think twice about it at the time, just pocketed it for rent. Bothers me to this day that I didn't make an effort to return it to its rightful owner. I spent 5 years in China teaching ESL. In addition to the school I worked for, I took private students as well. One was a successful but bored plastic surgeon. 90% of his business was the same 3 surgeries, so he wanted to learn English to break up the tedium. He would call me at random times with little or no notice and ask if I wanted to come over and give him a lesson. So one night he called me to come to his office. Very normal. But when I got there, the nurse was giving me booties and a hairnet and telling me to scrub my hands. Before I knew it, I was in the operating room giving him an English lesson while he performed a nose job. You not. I barely made it through. The surgery channel makes me lightheaded, and I was catching the live show. Pretty much scarred for life now. I was a waiter at a restaurant with a prep line that had mayo on it. There was only one dish that used mayo that no one ordered, so this mayo would sit out all day and get this foul yellow skin. I bet a buddy $100 to eat the skin right before the shift started. I spooned off the whole bucket myself, and it was a heaping scoop. I powered through it, but not long after he was absolutely green. We are still friends. A friend of mine who is now a Marine wanted to punch me in the face as hard as he could, so of course I said no, but then we agreed on the stomach for $30. It stung like a bitch, but not enough to stop him from doing it again for another 10. Barely made rent and hadn't eaten in 3 days. Was a rough post-breakup year for me. Found an ad on Craigslist for some guy that was willing to pay someone to lock him in a cage and pee on him. $50 later I had enough cheap noodles and sriracha to not go hungry for a while. I sold a bag of my fesses online, frozen and vacuum sealed it, and sent it in a flat package, made $14 off it. Once I sold my own blood to a local blood bank to buy gas to drive 2 hours to see my ex-girlfriend and win her back, who then cancelled. Met a girl online through a pole fitness thread. I was teaching pole at the time and traveling through her city with a friend, Canadians backpacking through Europe. She said she was interested in a private lesson. Because I was young and dumb, sure, whatever. My friend and first part ways at the train station. I do give her the girl's address, phone number, form username, and the contact info of a friend who uses the forum. The girl's transgender, had run away from home, and was working as a stripper to make money. I knew all of that. However, the reality of the situation didn't hit me until I was in her apartment. She lived in a building where each floor shared a bathroom and her apartment was a studio with a kitchenette. She had a twin bed, 2 chairs, a small table, and a pole. She had written words of affirmation, like "You're a star, you're amazing, you're worthy," on paper and taped them all around her apartment. Cheap makeup and clothing was everywhere. Anyways, I taught a lesson as promised. Just very basic moves, since she needed a lot of work. I gave her things to work on. She cried and said she felt beautiful and like a girl. She told me about where she worked and how excited she was to hopefully make more money with her new moves. She pays me money and I leave. It's up because it was extremely stupid of me. I literally walked into a stranger's apartment building in a foreign country without even knowing what she looked like. I just assumed she was a real person because we had interacted in the thread loosely for months before I announced my trip. I didn't even have my BlackBerry on me, since roaming charges were the worst. The entire thing also me up, because seeing the state of her apartment and having her cry about feeling beautiful just messed with my head. I've lived a relatively sheltered and privileged life, and this was a reality that I was not prepared for. Edit, changed a word after being educated, and thank you for the kind words and the silver, everyone. I sold an item from EverQuest, bone clasp girdle, Ike, from Acquisition Plane of Fear. I really wanted to keep the item, but I also really wanted $450 to be able to cover my rent. I was paid $3 to eat a lemon-scented wet nap. It was in high school, and I'm not proud. Also, I quickly discovered that lemon-scented did not translate to lemon-flavored. Steal porno mags from the corner store by my house and then sell them to horny kids at my middle school. This was around 1998 to 1999, before everyone had smartphones and high-speed internet. I drank a cereal bowl full of grease scraped off the top of a meatball stew for $3.67. I didn't eat right for 4 days. I went to a place that charged me $100,000 in order to work at a job that pays me $20,000. Suck, took, stole from family, pawned everything I had. Helped a dude shake down his knocks who owed him money and drove him all over town until he threw a handful of drugs at me and laughed as I scrambled to pick him up. Yeah, that was like 8 years ago, and life is much better now off the drugs. When I was about 17 I got offered £500 quid to rob my dealer's weed supply. I did. And then I spent the next 6 months myself that if he ever found out it was me he'd probably hunt me down and gut me like a fish. The guy kept it in a massive backpack in his shed. I mean, come on dude. It was just so easy. To explain the economics of this, it was probably 30 to 40 ounces of weed in that bag. So thousands worth. Back in the day, I had this friend. He was about 17 to 18 at the time. This friend was big into those freeapod.com, https://freeapod.com, and freaksparks.com, https://freaksparks.com, style sites from the early 2000s where you had to get people to sign up for free trial offers using a CC. And if you got enough friends, you would get a free iPad, or Xbox, or TV, or computer. He was skeptical that it would work, so he tested by finding 5 real adults he knew to give it a try, and what do you know? He actually got his free iPad. But these sites were wise, and you often couldn't sign up for the same free trials repeatedly using the same person, even with different CCs, and only a few offers were genuinely free or risk-free. So this friend needed to find another group of people willing to complete free trial offers. About this same time, Yahoo chat rooms were still a thing, as were Yahoo chat custom rooms. Obviously, that led to some pretty vile stuff, daddies for daughters and similar, with people looking for underage girls or boys to cyber with, trade pics with, or even meet. This friend realized that most of these pervs were older, meaning they had CCs, dumb, and horny. It wouldn't take much in the way of promising anything to get them to sign up for free trials. So this friend made a screen name, something like lil_cabras_girl, and posed as a 12 to 14-year-old girl in these chats. When dozens of men would immediately message my friend, in his best impersonation of a tween girl, would chat and weed out the ones who didn't seem serious, and focus on the ones who were persistent. He would chat with them for a bit, 5, 10 minutes, and then ask them to do him a favor. That favor, of course, was signing up for a free trial, because IRL need a new iPad. It worked. This friend ended up with a free iPad, free Xbox, free desktop PC, and free PC monitor. Then sold most of them for cash. Side note, one of the guys he talked with was so persistent about meeting his fake 13-year-old persona, he ported that guy, who provided his name/address/phone/pics, to the FBI, who came and took a statement from my friend because the person was a known offender. Question mark? As a former male escort, I'd say working at Hot Dog on a Stick. I'll let my brother run over my foot for a can of ravioli. I stuck my tongue to a pole in the middle of a northern Minnesotan winter for $5 that was never paid. I was once paid $1 per second to lay face down in the snow, naked. I made $300 before my friends ran out of cash. Same group of fellows offered to pay me $500 to pepper spray me. I told them make it $600, and don't tell me it's coming. Man. I made $900 of them idiots. I beat up a guy to get $1,000 bucks for a girl I knew. She gave me $200 of it. I used to know a couple who ran an adult baby nursery. Was paid £25 an hour to dress up in cute, frilly outfits and spend time with adult men who wanted to be treated like babies. At one point I spent an hour watching Thunderbirds episodes with a client. That was what all he wanted to do. I personally don't consider it up, but I'm sure some people reading this won't know how to feel about it. I sold the rights to YouTube videos I didn't even own or make to some Canadian company for $900. Worked on a Sunday. I'm at this very moment sitting in a hospital bed undergoing clinical trials for a new type of untested antibiotic. The drug itself isn't too bad, apart from some slight nausea and vomiting at times, but me if they aren't half starving us. One piece of toast and a small serving of cereal for breakfast at 8:20 am, a pasty, a yogurt and a plum for lunch at 4:20 pm, a small serving of bolognese or some kind of curry with a bread roll and a fruit cup for dinner at 12:20 am. I'm not the only one who has reported feeling dizzy or lightheaded, but they seem to attribute it to the side effect of the drug, not that fact that we seem to be on a sub 2000 calorie diet. Asterisk asterisk. Drunk toilet water in the nude for cash on a webcam. I used to sell random nudes I found online. Had to save up for an MP3 somehow. Had a strictly heterosexual three-way with another dude and a girl for $40. Can't say I regret it either. Wrote a sonnet about hating seagulls and wishing for their genocide. Edit. I'ma answer some questions about this comment real quick, so y'alls can have fun with the details. This was for an English assignment too, and it counted for about 10% of my grade. Yep, I potentially jeopardized my grade for a stupid joke and $5. I can't send it. My English teacher has it. He hasn't given M back. I got like 80% from the seagull sonnet. I confused everyone in the classroom, but they all actually liked it. Apparently hatred of seagulls is popular. Honestly, it wasn't really that bad. Call me boring, but the most I made was $100 when someone in high school paid me to write their final paper. It wasn't even a hard paper to do. I guess she was just lazy. Anyway, I made her pay me half up front and half after she got a passing grade. Anyway, word got around, and I ended up being paid to do small things like finish people's homework or write papers. Someone even paid me $50 to change the answers on his test to get at least a C, but no more than a B. I used to help one of our teachers grade papers and tests. They were actually pretty secretive about it, and I'm glad no adults found out, because I would have been in a lot of trouble. Was a stripper. Had a regular client pay me to drink then have me ask him for permission to piss. I have overactive bladder syndrome, so this often resulted in me pissing myself. He always tipped more and paid for a new outfit for me when that happened. Use PHP. Unclogged a garage drain with a cumulative 20 years of sludge and filth blocking it. Gag. I was a cashier. Karen is real, and she wants to talk to your manager. A dude begged me to finger my ass for $150. Don't regret it at all. I did a stint on a FPSO. FPSO equals floating, production storage and offloading. Basically a big gas boat that they use for oil production, except it stores the oil on board. Anyways, the ship was so crowded for commissioning that every morning and evening I got to ride this glorified birdcage into a smaller boat that I called the Vomit Comet because the motion was nasty and was pretty puke filled. My favorite part, besides the questionable food, was the prison-like atmosphere. Like once the weather was really bad, so we sailed to a small international port which was also a UN refugee holding center, and we walked around the parking lots for like 3 hours, and were super happy. Oh, and the buddy rags all over the hallway. Good times. When I was a kid, I filmed my neighbors having sex to sell copies of the tapes to other kids at school. Question mark? They had a big bay window, and if I sat on my roof I could see right, and they thought they had privacy on that side of the house, since we were the only nearby neighbors and there was a large cedar hedge between the houses, up on an embankment. Question mark? But sitting up on the roof I could see right in, no problem. Question mark? When I told kids at school about it, one kid stole his parents' video camera and some tapes, and then we split the profits from selling the tapes. Question mark? Pretty good money for the time, $10 per copy. Question mark? Yeah. Up when I think about it. I'm thick. Very thick. At parties, I get money that my erect member is too large to fit in a Pringles can. I have a routine that makes the choice of gauge seem spontaneous. My girlfriend sold panties to a man for $250 as long as he could see her take them off in front of him. We were hard up for money, so I'd drive her there and keep an eye on her. Then one day we had sex in front of him for $400. He complimented the size of my and then never remodeled again. I think I destroyed the fantasy for him. Was at the pub playing poker. I lost early. Nothing unusual. However, I was standing behind a friend when I noticed a 20 on the floor beside him. I knew it wasn't his. He's poorer than me. He also pays my bills. That's a different issue. I did the whole throw your foot on it to cover it, bag it closer, casually drop wallet so nobody suspects anything. Success. Not my finest moment. But $20 is $20. I sold dirt online. Authentic Louisiana voodoo soil, to be exact. The listing on eBay was literally just me talking about how I live in La, and dirt would be from my backyard, and would possibly contain anything from grass to bugs, etc. Sold 2 pounds of it to 2 diff buyers for about $40 total. Turns out there are dirt collectors in the world and they like to win auctions. Hard to thunk it? Gambled most of my life savings